Welcome! Settle in, turn down the lights, and prepare yourselves. What starts as a simple task, dog sitting, can spiral into the unknown. Tonight, you'll hear 3 terrifying true stories of dog sitting gone horribly wrong. These are accounts of trust betrayed, shadows in the night, and the chilling realization that you are not alone. So take a deep breath, keep your furry friends close, and let's begin. Our first story awaits. Chloe, a young and eager college student, always jumped at the chance to earn some extra money. When the opportunity arose to take a dog-sitting job in a quiet, seemingly idyllic suburb, she didn't hesitate. The house was nestled among towering trees and manicured lawns, the very picture of peaceful domesticity. Little did she know, this tranquil facade concealed a disquieting secret. Her charge was Buddy, a gentle golden retriever with soulful eyes and a perpetually wagging tail. Buddy was the epitome of canine contentment, a furry ball of sunshine who seemed to radiate warmth and affection. He was the kind of dog that made you instantly feel at ease, a comforting presence in any room. Chloe instantly fell in love with him. The first night settled in with an undisturbed quiet, the kind that lulls you into a false sense of security. Chloe settled into the guest bedroom, a cozy space with soft lighting and a comfortable bed. She drifted off to sleep, dreaming of easy money and adorable dogs. But the tranquility was shattered at precisely 2 a.m., when a faint, unsettling scratching sound pierced the silence, jolting her awake. It was a sound that seemed to crawl under her skin, a subtle yet persistent disturbance that sent shivers down her spine. Her first instinct was to check on Buddy, to reassure herself that the source of the noise wasn't him. He was still sound asleep at her feet, completely undisturbed by the strange sound. His gentle snores filled the room, a stark contrast to the unsettling scratching that had awakened her. Just as suddenly as it began, the scratching stopped, leaving an unnerving silence in its wake. Trying to rationalize the sound, she dismissed it as a branch scraping against the house, or perhaps a raccoon rummaging around outside. It was an old house, after all. Strange noises were to be expected. But the next night the sound returned, an unwelcome guest in the dead of night. This time it was louder, more insistent, more deliberate. It was no longer a faint, ignorable noise. It was a clear and present disturbance. And as she listened more closely, she realized it wasn't the sound of claws, but fingernails scraping against wood. Buddy, the ever-reliable golden retriever, slept soundly through it all, completely oblivious to the growing sense of dread that was consuming Chloe. A cold wave of fear washed over her, a primal instinct warning her that something was terribly wrong. Despite her fear, Chloe forced herself to investigate, driven by a mixture of curiosity and a desperate need to understand the source of the unsettling noise. She crept downstairs, each step creaking ominously in the silence, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. The darkness seemed to press in on her, amplifying her fear. She reached the front door and confirmed it was locked tight, the deadbolt firmly in place. A wave of relief washed over her. But that relief was short-lived, replaced by a fresh wave of terror as she noticed fresh, deep scratches marring the outside of the door. These weren't the random marks of an animal. They were deliberate, precise, and undeniably made by human fingernails. The next night, the scratching returned with a vengeance, louder and more relentless than ever before. It was a constant, unnerving reminder that she was not alone. Buddy, bless his oblivious heart, never stirred, remaining sound asleep throughout the ordeal. Chloe lay paralyzed with fear, listening to the incessant scratching, praying for the first light of dawn to break through the darkness. When the owners finally returned, exhausted from their trip, she immediately showed them the scratches on the door, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and exhaustion. The husband, a burly man with a dismissive air, brushed it off as the work of raccoons, offering a weak smile and a shrug. But despite his attempt at nonchalance, his eyes betrayed a deep-seated unease, a flicker of fear that he couldn't quite conceal. The wife, a slender woman with a haunted look in her eyes, whispered, her voice barely audible, "He's been doing that again, hasn't he?" Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. With a sigh, they explained the house's dark history. The previous owner had died unexpectedly inside, succumbing to a sudden illness. His loyal dog, heartbroken by the loss of his master, had spent his days and nights scratching at the doors, desperately trying to reach him. He scratched at the doors and windows, driven by an unwavering loyalty and a desperate desire to protect the man he loved. Sometimes, they said, his spirit still lingers, forever trying to protect the house and its inhabitants. Chloe, needless to say, never dog-sat at that house again. The experience left her shaken and unnerved, a chilling reminder of the unseen forces that can lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. Sometimes, the past refuses to stay buried, its echoes reverberating through the present, a constant reminder of what once was. And the loyal, those bound by unwavering devotion, never truly leave, their spirits forever tethered to the places and people they loved. Are you ready to delve into another chilling tale, another journey into the unknown? Alex had agreed to house-sit for Professor Eldridge, a renowned historian known for his eccentric habits and even more eccentric collection of antique books. The professor was off on a research trip to Europe, chasing down some obscure historical footnote, leaving Alex in charge of his sprawling, dimly lit house. More importantly, Alex was entrusted with the care of Winston, a scruffy but undeniably clever terrier with a penchant for mischief and an uncanny ability to open doors. Winston was the professor's pride and joy, a furry companion who seemed to understand more than he let on. The professor had only one specific warning, delivered with a strange mix of seriousness and amusement. Winston has a knack for slipping his collar. It was a bright red leather collar, perhaps a bit too flashy for Winston's unassuming demeanor. If he manages to get it off, the professor had said, just put it back on him in the morning. He doesn't usually wander far. Alex thought it was a simple enough request, a minor detail in an otherwise straightforward house-sitting gig. He placed the collar on the kitchen counter, ready for the morning routine. But the first morning, things took an unexpected turn. Alex went to retrieve the collar, only to find the counter bare. It was gone, vanished without a trace. He searched the kitchen, then the living room, his initial amusement quickly turning to mild panic. Then he entered the bedroom and saw it. Impossibly, the red collar was coiled neatly on Alex's pillow, as if placed there with deliberate care. A shiver ran down his spine. How could it have gotten there? He was sure he had left it in the kitchen. He tried to rationalize it, blaming it on sleepwalking or a lapse in memory. Maybe he had absent-mindedly brought it into the bedroom the night before, but deep down, he knew something wasn't right. Determined to solve the mystery, the next night, he secured the collar tightly around Winston's neck, making sure it wouldn't slip off easily. He even double-checked the buckle, ensuring it was firmly fastened. He blocked his bedroom door with a chair, wedging it firmly under the doorknob, and took a photo of the secured collar as proof that he wasn't imagining things. He was determined to catch whatever, or whoever, was moving the collar. Still, despite his precautions, the collar vanished. The next morning, Winston was collar-free, and the photo on Alex's phone showed the dog wearing it the night before. This time, the collar reappeared inside a locked grandfather clock in the hallway, its pendulum swinging rhythmically with the red leather dangling precariously. The clock was an antique, its inner workings intricate and delicate. How could anyone or any dog have gotten inside? Frustrated and genuinely unnerved, Alex called the professor, half expecting anger or disbelief. He stammered through the story, recounting the strange events of the past few days. Instead of anger, the professor sighed, a long, drawn-out sound filled with resignation. "Ah," he said, his voice tinged with a hint of melancholy. "She's still playing games, I see." The professor explained that the house had belonged to his late wife Eleanor, a woman with a sharp wit, a love for puzzles, and a particular dislike for Winston's bright red collar. Eleanor had always thought the collar was garish and unflattering, preferring a more subdued, classic look for their beloved terrier. She also had a playful, mischievous streak, often hiding things around the house just to see if anyone could find them. Since her death, the professor confessed, the collar would vanish periodically, only to reappear in increasingly bizarre and improbable locations. It had become a sort of tradition. The collar would turn up in impossible places, defying logic and reason. The professor had learned to accept it as a quirky, albeit unsettling reminder of his late wife's enduring presence. The professor then told Alex where to find the small antique key to the grandfather clock, hidden inside a hollowed-out book on the top shelf of the library. Alex retrieved the collar from the clock, its leather strangely cold to the touch, as if it had been stored in a freezer. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was participating in something far beyond his understanding. For the rest of his stay, Alex decided to play along. He left the collar off Winston at night, placing it on the kitchen counter as a sort of offering. Each morning, as if on cue, it appeared somewhere new, a silent message from beyond the grave. One morning, he found it nestled inside a delicate porcelain teapot, surrounded by dried tea leaves. Another day, it was perched atop a marble bust of a stern-looking Roman emperor, as if the emperor himself had decided to accessorize. The placements were always playful, never malicious, suggesting a sense of humor and a lingering affection for the living. Alex realized he wasn't just house-sitting, he was sharing the house not just with Winston, the clever terrier who seemed unfazed by the strange occurrences, but with a mischievous spirit, a woman who still wanted her dog to have a different collar, even in the afterlife. It was a peculiar, almost comforting thought. Some bonds and grudges linger long after we're gone, woven into the very fabric of the places we leave behind, a testament to the enduring power of love, memory, and the occasional stubborn disagreement over canine fashion. Sarah, a responsible and caring young woman, had taken on a dog-sitting job for the weekend. Her charge was Max, a handsome and generally friendly Doberman, known for his playful nature and gentle demeanor. The assignment was at a modern, stylish home, complete with all the latest amenities, but it also had a locked basement, a detail that would soon become unsettling. Before leaving, the owners, a seemingly normal couple, gave Sarah a few instructions, including a specific warning. "Whatever you do," they cautioned, their voices tinged with a strange seriousness, "don't go down there." Max, usually an energetic and curious dog, seemed to sense something was amiss. He pointedly avoided the basement door, giving it a wide berth whenever they passed. His behavior was unusual, visibly afraid and on edge whenever the basement was even mentioned. The first night passed without incident. Sarah and Max settled into a comfortable routine, watching TV and enjoying the quiet of the suburban home. But the second night was different. Around 3 a.m., Max abruptly woke Sarah from a deep sleep, nudging her urgently with his nose. He stood stiffly, a low, guttural growl rumbling in his chest, his eyes fixed on the basement door. From behind the seemingly impenetrable barrier of the locked door, a series of disturbing sounds began to emanate. There was a distinct scraping, followed by a heavy thudding, as if something large and unwieldy was being moved. It sounded like something heavy being dragged across the floor, each movement punctuated by an unsettling echo. Max's fear was palpable, radiating off him in waves. He whined and trembled, pressing himself against Sarah's legs for comfort. Overcome with a sense of dread, Sarah decided to call the owners, hoping they could shed some light on the strange occurrences. When Jenna answered, Sarah quickly explained the situation. There was a long pause, then Jenna's voice dropped to a panicked whisper. "Get out, now!" Without hesitation, Sarah grabbed Max's leash and fled the house, running as fast as she could to a neighbor's, seeking safety and refuge. Once safely inside, she immediately called the police, reporting the strange noises and her growing fear for her safety. When officers arrived, they thoroughly searched the house, finding all the doors and windows secure, with no signs of forced entry. But in the basement, the source of the disturbance, they found something deeply unsettling. The room was bare except for a single old wooden chair positioned directly under a flickering bare light bulb, and etched into the concrete floor were fresh gouges, deep scratch marks that seemed to claw their way across the surface. The owners arrived shortly after, their faces pale and etched with a mixture of fear and shame. Overwhelmed by the situation, they finally confessed the truth about the house and its dark past. They revealed that the land on which the house stood had a dark and tragic history, a history they had tried to ignore. Years ago, a man had kept his mentally ill brother locked away in the basement, hidden from the world. The brother eventually died there, alone and forgotten, his spirit forever trapped within the confines of the cold, damp space. Since moving in, the owners had experienced a series of unexplained phenomena. They'd heard strange noises coming from the basement, even when it was locked. They'd seen objects move on their own, felt cold spots in the air, and sensed a constant, oppressive presence. In an attempt to contain the activity, they had always kept the basement door securely locked, hoping to keep whatever was down there. Sarah, understandably shaken and disturbed by what she had learned, left that night, vowing never to return to the house. She remained haunted by the growls of the dog, a primal warning of unseen danger, the scraping sounds that echoed in the dead of night, and the sheer terror she had heard in Jenna's voice, a chilling testament to the horrors lurking beneath the surface. Some doors, she realized, are locked for a very good reason, concealing secrets and containing forces best left undisturbed. And some spirits, trapped by tragedy and despair, may never truly escape the confines of their earthly prisons, forever bound to the places where they suffered and died. After stories like these, every creak and shadow feels different. The trust we place in ordinary moments can shatter in an instant. Tonight, check your locks, hug your pets, and listen to the silence. If you have your own chilling tale, share it in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and join me next time for more true horror. Until then, try to sleep. But don't be surprised if you find yourself listening for things that go bump in the night. Good night.